Hey there, I'm Russ. Welcome to Explorations All Over. Thanks for joining me on the inaugural episode of my new series, Far-Flung Diaries. Be prepared for something totally different. In this series, I want to give you my impressions of the sights, sounds, tastes, and smells of our experience aboard Avalon Waterways Christmas Markets cruise on the Rhine River aboard the Avalon View. Instead of a chronological retelling of the journey, I thought I'd rather share with you my thoughts and feelings throughout the entire trip. And if you'd like a visual sense of what I'm describing, I've shared some short reels from the journey on the Explorations All Over Facebook page. They're there if you want to step into these moments with me. If you're thinking about taking a Christmas markets cruise, regardless of which company you're thinking of using, I hope the episode will give you an idea of what to expect, and frankly, not expect on the trip. Someone asked me, how is a river cruise different than an ocean cruise? I would need an entire episode to completely answer that question. So instead, I'll point out the major differences. Most of the riverboats hold less than 200 people, and due to constraints on the river, are usually only 3 decks high. Riverboats also lack the big theaters you find on ocean ships, and instead of Broadway-style entertainment, rely on local performers. The food on riverboats is usually excellent, and try to incorporate local dishes on the menu. But where ocean ships have multiple restaurant options, riverboats only have 1 or 2 options, and meals are served at a particular time. River cruises generally offer a limited number of excursions in each stop, with one always included in the fare and others available for supplement. And the excursions usually last a couple of hours, leaving free time for exploring on your own. Since they are smaller, riverboats can pull right up to the shore outside of a town, making it easy to get on and off at your leisure. You can certainly read online reviews of all the stops, the historic details of the German and French cultures dating back centuries. What I want to share with you is what it was like seeing these things and tasting the local specialties and, of course, sipping the Gluhwein in each destination. Because, believe it or not, Gluhweins differ from place to place. We planned this trip over a year ago and actually postponed it for personal reasons, and were excited to see what all the hype was about. The cruise was 7 nights, which was the perfect length. Let's face it, Christmas is a magical time for many and a stressful time for some. Honestly, not a lot of people would leave home, no less go to Europe. No less on a river cruise so close to Christmas. Too much to do, too much to plan, gifts to wrap, a tree to decorate, and parties to attend. Which makes it the ideal time to go away. Duncan got our house all decorated for the holidays, and before we left had all the gifts wrapped and under the tree. So we were already in the holiday spirit even before we left home. We met a lot of people on the Avalon View, many who said that they were having a scaled-back Christmas since they were going to be away. What a disappointment that must have been. After the joy of seeing all the beauty of how other cultures celebrate the season, to come home to something less than festive would be such a letdown. My advice? Don't do it. Make an effort before you leave and keep the joy you bring home with you alive. From Paris to Amsterdam, Cologne to Basel, and everywhere in between, the feeling of happiness, the laughter of children, the sound of music in the squares, and the true feeling of peace on earth and goodwill toward your fellow man was palpable. Everywhere we went, we were greeted warmly and genuinely welcomed into each town's celebration. People were happy to share with us their traditions, whether it be food, drink, music, or handicrafts. The pride gleamed in their eyes as they shared an intimate part of their history, life, and lifestyle. Some say music is an international language, and it is. But being in a foreign country and hearing familiar carols and Christmas songs, whether in their native tongue or in English, brought a smile to my face. Two performances stand out. A small group of high school children singing Carol of the Bells next to a church in Heidelberg were surrounded by locals and foreigners alike, some singing along with them, bringing a feeling of community and belonging to the music. The other, quite a different group, was a quartet performing on stage in Strasbourg. They were dressed in cartoonish costumes, but it was fun just to watch them entertain the crowd. They brought a jazzy, swing sound to the Christmas classic, All I Want for Christmas. I loved it. People were dancing to the music and just having a great time. In the end, isn't that what the season is all about? No Mariah Carey performance this. Now, let's talk about the kids. At Christmas, they care about two things: what Santa's going to bring them, and candy. Every market had handcrafted toys and dolls, trains and cars, teddy bears and princess dresses, and not an iPad in sight. There were also rides for the little kids, festive carousels, brightly lit Ferris wheels, and more that rang with their childish glee and the sheer magic of something so simple. Parents also took their little ones ice skating, maybe for the first time, having them hold on to a plastic training toy to keep them standing. Of course, Mom and Dad were right behind them all the time. And candy of every make, color, flavor, and shape you could imagine. You could see people, young and old alike, enjoying homemade ice cream piled high into cones or fluffy cotton candy, rich milk, dark and white chocolate-covered pretzels, and handmade striped candy canes in every flavor under the rainbow, from classic frosty mint to tropical mango and pineapple. Willy Wonka, eat your heart out. The kids were led around with their eyes agog, not really knowing which way to look. It made me understand the true meaning of the season when viewed through these young ones' eyes. Which brings me to another question I was asked. Would a river cruise be good for kids? River cruises, regardless of the region, tend to focus on the local history and culture, and are much more geared towards adults in all aspects on board and on shore. High school-aged young people would likely enjoy the trip. There's not a lot to do during the day on board, so toddlers and young children would probably be bored. Speaking of teenagers, I have to say that I don't think teenagers change a lot from culture to culture. Like we see in malls throughout the United States, we saw groups just hanging out, laughing and enjoying themselves, usually with a mug of Gluhwein, even if they might not have really been old enough. Attitudes about drinking in Europe are so far different from those at home. These young people were being allowed to be themselves and enjoy time with their friends, and sharing a cup of wine seems only fitting. It was great to see them out and about and untethered from their phones and tablets, sharing the fun of Christmas with their friends. Almost every Christmas market was crowded, and the sound of different languages and accents reminded me that the holiday season is not limited to one culture, one religion, or one country. It's universal. It unites us. Looking around, all you saw were smiling faces. All you could hear were voices raised, not in anger or malice, but in joy and laughter. No one pushed. Oh, every now and then some assertiveness was required to make it through the market. Sure, you had to wait in line, but everyone had to, and that was part of the fun. Again, it was about slowing down and savoring the moment. Young and old, teens and seniors, families and couples came together in celebration. It was heartwarming. The smells were overwhelming. One minute, your nose was hit with the sweet and spicy smell of the mulled wine. The next, you could smell the nutty richness of raclette cheese cooking under a heater, the gooiness waiting to be scraped onto a crunchy baguette. The mouth-watering smell of potatoes coming from mounds of French fries. The smell of charcoal glowing underneath rows and rows of spicy sausages. Then, the unmistakable smell of melted chocolate. It was hard to know whether it was coming from a marshmallow-topped hot chocolate in front of you, or from the woman in a nearby stall, drizzling a ladleful of chocolate over a crispy hot waffle. You could even hear the sounds of all the delicious food being cooked. The sizzle of the potato pancake batter as it hit the hot oil on the griddle. The bubbling of the pots of rich and steaming French onion soup. The crackle as plump sausages cooked over an open fire, waiting to be slathered in tangy sauerkraut and a dollop of spicy mustard. In each town, we walked along, not sure whether we wanted a bratwurst, hot and juicy right off the grill, or the melty raclette-filled sandwich on a crusty bread. We'd spy a stall selling crispy spiral-sliced potatoes on a stick, then another selling authentic German pretzels, fresh baked out of the oven. We wanted to taste it all. At every place we visited, there came a time when we just couldn't eat anymore. But there was always room for a hot, perfectly soft crepe filled with Nutella that oozed out of the sides, using a couple of napkins in the process. Bananas optional. Of course, I can't forget to talk about the famous mulled wine, or Gluhwein, that is available in every market. No matter where you looked, you could see groups of people gathered around a high-top table, sipping on Gluhwein and chatting animatedly. The hot wine was served in a souvenir mug, and you had your choice of red, white, or rosé wine. Red is the traditional, so I stuck to that. If I'm being honest, while I loved it, Duncan was not a fan. He was a sport and tried it, but ended up sticking to hot chocolate with marshmallows, of course. The flavor of the wine always featured spices in varying degrees. Cinnamon, clove, allspice, and ginger, but varied from town to town. It's a great beverage for warming you up and small enough that you don't really feel tipsy. It goes with everything or just by itself. You know how certain smells evoke special memories? I'm sure the next time I encounter the smell of Gluhwein, I'll be transported back to this trip. When I think of festive holiday scenes, I think of the lights, bright and shiny, twinkling and all aglow. Whether large or small, every Christmas market turned out the very best of a light show, with not only strings of colorful lights, but stars, starbursts, globes and angels, and all sorts of decorations. Even in the darkest night, the lights created a special warm glow that enveloped all who were there. Manger scenes, both large and small, could be found in every city, lit up to remind us all of the purpose for the celebrations. So many of these markets took place in the shadow of some of the great cathedrals. just as markets have for centuries. Walking through the stalls as the bells in the towers chimed, I felt the weight of what had come before me, happening in that very spot. While nothing could surpass the joy I was feeling, I couldn't help but be humbled by the history of these places. A lot of this trip can be compared to traveling on the river, in our case, the Rhine. It's a slow process that makes you stop and appreciate the moment. Every market, every cup of wine, every child's laugh, every delicious bite reminded me to savor where I am in the moment. Even Snoopy reminded Charlie Brown that Christmas had become too commercial. Too Black Friday deals, Cyber Monday sales, free shipping, and get it in time for Christmas. And in between each town and village, there was the river. One morning, as we cruised from Cologne to Rudesheim, we sat outside on the top deck, gliding past centuries-old castles, perched high on the hills on both sides of the river. It was bitterly cold. I hunkered down under a blanket as the breeze from the motion of the boat numbed my ears and made me grateful, I thought, to pack gloves. Duncan brought me one of Avalon's famous hot chocolates, and as it warmed my hands and my chest, I found myself looking up at those ancient fortresses with a deeper sense of appreciation. Silent witnesses to the long, layered history of the region. In that moment, wrapped in warmth and carried gently forward, I felt very small and incredibly lucky, present in a place that has been watching the world pass by for centuries. Before we continue, if these kinds of reflective journeys resonate with you, I'd love for you to follow or subscribe to Explorations All Over. That's how this story and the ones still to come find their way to you. All right, let's keep going. This holiday was a reset. We experienced so much, a lot of it new. New smells, tastes, sounds, and sights, and shared with people from all over the world the wonder of the season. With so much going on in our daily lives and in our world, it was important to take time to stop and take a breath. The fun, the laughter, the music, and the atmosphere of the Christmas markets provided just that reminder. Quite frankly, it was something that I didn't realize I needed until I was enchanted by the magic of it all. Each day on the cruise was like a blank canvas, just waiting for new discoveries in new towns, and like a perfectly wrapped Christmas present, being wonderfully surprised upon opening it. Surprised at how each place was different, but most surprisingly, how much each place was similar. I wrote most of this episode while we were still in Europe, while the feelings and emotions of the adventure were still fresh in my mind. Without a doubt, I know we will both be looking at Christmas differently, appreciating even more the simple message of the season. Eventually, we arrived at our final destination, Basel, Switzerland. The suitcases were repacked, and we found ourselves back where we started, at home. The house was just as we'd left it. The Christmas tree still glowed softly, and waiting for us at the door was Nick, tail wagging, completely unimpressed by castles, cathedrals, or Christmas markets, just happy we were back. As I stood there, it reminded me of something my mother used to say. It's nice to go away, but it's even better to come home. She was right. Travel gives us perspective, opens our eyes, and fills us with wonder. But it's home that gives these experiences a place to land. And this time, we didn't come home empty-handed. We brought back a quieter kind of joy, a deeper sense of gratitude, and a reminder of what Christmas is really about. I'm also thinking that I need to find a good Gluhwein recipe. Thanks for joining me for my Far-Flung Diaries series first episode. This is Explorations All Over. I'm Russ, and I'll see you soon.